Hey everyone, Thyworm here with a build guide for the Slormancer patch 0.3. Today I bring you a really great spin to win character that has served me well so far. By using Whirlwind, we are proccing all sorts of things and it's just a super fun and effective build to play. If you enjoy the occasional build guide, indie games and in-depth videos about indie games, throw me a subscription. I make plenty of content around those topics. You can like the video for the algorithm and let me know in the comments how this build works for you, or if you have any questions. I tried using the builder, but it is outdated and doesn't let me generate a link for the build, so I'm sorry. Let's start with the build philosophy. I just want to play fun builds in my ARPGs. I don't care about millions of damage or so-called S-tier builds. I want to have fun, not grind the hardest content available. That being said, this build is certainly no slouch. You're seeing footage of Wrath 6, which I feel is respectable, and there is definitely room for growth as we are still scaling the build. The whole idea is simple. We spin to win, and while spinning we proc all sorts of secondary effects. Spinning blades around us, meteors from the sky, swords from the sky, inner fireballs, and even a copy of our own Slorm Reaper. Once you have enough movement speed, you can hold down the skill button and go ham. It is one of my favorite playstyles. So what do you need in terms of stats? Here is the wish list. In terms of defenses, get some elemental resistances, health, life regen, life on hit, just 1 or 2 ways to get some health back basically. We're using armor, block and evasion as well. Movement speed is important, both to dodge things and for quality of life and for scaling some damage. In terms of offense, raw damage is good. I think attack speed is good too. I do have quite a bit of it and it seems to work, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. Ancestral strike chance and damage adds to the swords falling from the sky, so that is useful. Increased area size and effect works well too. Let's look at the skill specializations and the skills that we're using. Our specialization is the haphazard champion. This gives you fortunate and perfect casts, which is the small yellow indicator at the bottom left. Every 25 charges, something happens. That something depends on your skills, but in our case, as we're only using Whirlwind, swords fall from the sky at 25, 50 and 75 charges, and a meteor drops at 100 charges. This is the main reason for this specialization. It's just an awful lot of fun. The specialization gives you the Ascension skill, which is a leap attack and you'll land at whatever enemy you're targeting, but I hardly ever use it. The skill tree choices still matter a lot though. Tier 1, pick the Astral Ascent, increasing the sword and meteor damage. Then Elder Retribution, which casts swords at 25, 50 and 75 charges and a meteor at 100 charges. I take Melee Warrior for a lucky chance to cast Inner Fire. Inner Fire are the whirling white balls around you. You do need a source to proc them, so you need an affix on your gear that says Inner Fire chance, but after that you do a lucky roll with this skill point, meaning that you roll the chance twice and pick the highest number. To Glory just increases luck, which are the charges in the yellow meter. Friendly Fire is just more crit for your Inner Fire. Armageddon increases meteor damage to 200%, which is very significant. Meteor skills with skill damage, I think raw damage and for sure Reaper damage. That is all base damage for meteor. Doing twice that base damage is pretty nuts. Rain of Meteors afterwards gives you a 50% chance to cast another meteor, and that meteor counts as a cast itself, meaning it has yet another 50% chance to cast another meteor. You can chain meteors this way. Finally, I went with the Perfect Warrior for additional projectiles and melee recast chance, which is just another Whirlwind hit including all of the potential procs. Then Whirlwind. This scales with raw damage and skill damage, and because Reaper damage is converted to skill damage, it all adds up. You start with Vengeful Hurricane because you start stacking movement speed. Scaling Whirlwind with movement speed is a win-win situation. Swift Storm lets you move through enemies, which I consider vital at high wrath. Getting body blocked means you get killed most of the time. Irremovable gives you tenacity, which slows movement impairing effects on you. Not super useful, but the alternative is Arcane Beam, which looks really cool but does no damage because we don't deal elemental damage due to our Slorm Reaper. Dancing Blades is the node that procs the blades around your Whirlwind. Those blades do Reaper damage, which directly scales of course with your Slorm Reaper. This is very significant and the range on this skill is quite good. Finally, take Skewing Gum. It adds a little bit of damage and this works works like Impale in PoE, but it's not amazing. The other options, however, are worse, because Static Vortex doesn't allow you to move while casting, and Whirlwind Strike removes the channeling, killing my build completely. The final skill is one I use only passively. Crest Shield. Only 2 nodes matter here, the rest doesn't because you won't be casting this. Barrage gives you a permanent 15 block stacks, which means you have a permanent 15% block chance. Not bad. Common Usage adds 1 block stack, so 1% additional block chance per second that you are not hit. Because we're so fast, we're not getting hit that often. We got some evasion as well, so overall it is a nice layered defense. Time to look at the attributes. I do a mix of toughness, savagery and bravery. You want toughness for life, armor and the elemental resistances based on that armor. Once you max out your gear, getting the 1% melee damage reduction per enemy surrounding you is great as well. Savagery is just pure damage for melee builds, so points into this attribute is very noticeable. Bravery you pick up for the movement speed, especially when leveling I would pick this up first. Movement speed makes this build just so much better to play. Later on you can craft movement speed on gear and take less points in bravery instead. Let's look at Ancestral Legacy. I'm taking Pain Weaver for raw damage, damage to elites and mana regen. I'm taking Air Conditioner to reduce enemy attack speed by 60%, which is massive of course. And finally Neraya's Shield, giving me a bunch of elemental resistances while also chilling enemies around me, reducing their movement speed by 30%. This aura does cost quite a bit of mana at high levels, meaning you need to get mana regen on your gear. You need that anyway because you need to be able to keep channeling Whirlwind, of course. Then, also very important, gear. My gear is quite decent, I've been playing this for a while now. You should focus on the stats in the wishlist. I would make a habit of slapping on any of the 3 attributes I mentioned, skill levels for Whirlwind and bonuses for Astoria's Slorm Reapers. By doing this, I gained 55 additional Slorm Reaper levels, which is a ton of damage. I found 3 epic pieces that help out somewhat, but they're by no means mandatory in any way. Ancestral Champion's Present gives me +1 in Ancestral Gift, which is 1% more damage and mana regen pretty much. Moonlight Essence helps a bit with mana sustain, but I get most of my mana from regeneration, not from mana on hit or kill. Primordial Crusade is great. It gives me a 35% chance to proc my Reaper and shoot it as a projectile. This is just another nice flavor to the build, because we're already proccing so many secondary effects. It does decent damage too, because it does Reaper damage. Talking about the Slorm Reaper, I am taking the most powerful sword, and once you reach level 80 with that sword, you can evolve it into the primordial version, which negates any elemental damage you do but multiplies Reaper damage. This weapon is just amazing because everything in our build scales with Reaper damage. Reaper damage gets converted into skill damage, which is what is used by Whirlwind and I think also by Meteor. This is why my build is still scaling, because this weapon isn't full level yet. For my ultimatum, I am using Echoing Beyond for melee recast chance. I haven't found all ultimatums and I haven't upgraded them either, so I'm sure there are better options down the line. I think recast works just fine, but you can honestly take anything you want here. Leveling is super easy, barely an inconvenience. I leveled using Mighty Swing, and once I was the appropriate level, I swapped to Whirlwind. Get movement speed and mana regen as soon as you can. Damage will follow, because everything scales so well. Just grind out the low wrath levels first, level up and evolve your Slorm Reapers, and once you start cutting through enemies, increase the wrath levels. And that brings us to the playstyle of the build. Here's the build in action. There's really not much to say, I just hold the button and then this is what happens. I mean, what else do you really want? It's just this. It's great, it's fun, it does tons of damage. You're pretty tanky, but high wrath is very painful of course. Try not to get hit, which should be possible given how much movement speed you can get. I had a lot of fun creating this build, all the way from start to finish, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, throw it a like, toss a sub to the channel because I create more extensive guides like this. And finally, thanks so much for watching. See you soon, love you all, bye bye.